Hello guys and welcome back. So today we're going to work on the user view. Now the user view is where the admin can add, update or delete users who can access our system, that's the finance system. So I'm just going to run it so that we can see where we are so far. So that's our system. We can just log in and we're going to get this. We have the header, we have the footer. It's going to come here on the dashboard, of course, and then we have the user. So we're going to work on the users view. We need to add some items here for searching, search bar, and so many other components. And here we're going to have a list, of course, with headers to display the users that are available here. So let's start working on it. So the first thing we're going to do here, we have to, because we're going to use a list to display it. We have to also be able to get the users, and of course using this function right here, so we can get the list of all the users that are available. So we have the head and the footer. So we're going to find two variables here that are going to help us. So just call it user list. So it's a widget that list, and we're going to define the users because it's an array. Models dot user. Okay, so doing that, we need to define a function that is going to be updating our user list, so that if we edit or we delete something, we can be able to refresh this user list. So we're going to define a new function down here, and that function is going to be able to load the users. I'm just going to say function load users to accept a window, and it's going to return the list of users. Now this function is important because whenever we do a change in the table, you should be able to update it automatically without having to do anything. Just going to use get all users sound. Now we can come up here and define a function and just call it update list. We'll use this function a lot. Use this function a lot so that we can be able to update the users table. We're going to load users. And we can say user list. Let's refresh. But the changes are going to be seen automatically. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to need in our list, we're going to need the headers. Okay. And in our case, when you come to our models here, we're going to we have username, have the full name, phone, role, and password. I'm just going to define it here. Let's call it title headers. I can just call it maybe title now. To use a container, new script with columns. Then we're going to look at the number of columns we're going to need here. So we have name, full name, role, phone. I'm going to split 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it's going to be 4. Okay, so just going to say a widget new label with type. At the text you can just have name, say fine, let's text align, let's use leading. And for the style, I want to say fine, the text style, and I can just say bold, true. I'm going to copy this. Here we have the name, his full name. Then we can have the username. And after the username, we can have the role. And finally, we can have phone. So we have the headers. Now, just cut this from there. Now, after defining the title headers, now we can begin working on the user list. The user list view. So I can just call it user list as we have already defined it up there. I'm going to have widgets there in list. Now when we are working with the list, as you can see here, we have length, we have the create item for defining our template, then we have the update item for updating the template we've just defined. So of course all of them are functions, so just say func. Second one is a function as well, the third is a function as well. Okay, then now we can begin adding our components. So for the length, first we're going to return an integer, and it's just going to say, so say return length, the users list. Okay, the users will be defined here, and then we load them from the DB so that every time there are new changes need to be updated. Okay, now for defining our template, we're going to need full name, username, role, and also fun. Okay, I'm just going to come here and start with the full name label, because when you're working with defining the create item, it's just labels. Okay, I'm just going to say widget new label. Okay, that one is for the full name. Then we're going to have for username, then the next one is going to be role, and we're going to have phone, and yeah, phone. And then we're going to have to return something, but in this case, this whatever we're returning here, it should meet these specific items. Okay, so also going to have a grid here. I'm just going to call it raw. It's going to be a container. It's new grid columns, because they're going to be 4. Then have the objects, because we are going to start with the full name label. Then we have the username label. Then we have role label, and then the font. Remember, these have to match this so that we have the full name, username, role label, and then the font. Then that's finally can return the raw. We've finished defining our templates. Then we're going to come down here. So this one, I'm just going to name it to ID. This one I can rename it to so we're going to do here, we have to retrieve individual items, because it's going, this one automatically loops through. We're just going to say user, have a single user. So we're going to have users, the ID. Okay. Then we're going to grab the row, and we're going to be filling this row. We have a Fyne contain. Now we have to fit these labels into the data that we're going to be grabbing here, to placing the templates that we've defined up here. So I'm just going to have the full name label. Just going to be raw objects. Going to start with 0. We're going to have widget label. Okay, so this one's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm just going to copy this. Then we have username. This is going to be 1 username, and then we have role, going to be 2. We have phone, going to be 3. Okay, after fitting them to their specific positions, of course based on this and the titles, now we are going to fill them with data. I'm just going to say full name label, set text to user with full name. Okay, in short, this one sets defines a label, and then here we set the specific value. Then here we're going to come to username, the name, and this one we have role, and finally we have phone. Phone label. Okay, now we have added all these items. Now the next thing we have to do is have to display this list here. So as you can see, we have defined it, the data and the data, and we're not using them anyway. Okay, so after doing that, the first thing we're supposed to do is load the users. Load, once you just load this view, you'll be able to update the user view. Okay, and then another thing, we have to add a list container, list user. I'm just going to call it list container, and in this case here we're going to combine the title row and the user list. Okay, I'm just going to use a new border, so that means the title row is going to be the top, and then one is going to be nil, left is going to be nil, this group, so then we have the user list. Okay, now the container new view, of course the header is going to remain there, the footer. Then instead of displaying just this label, I'm just going to get rid of this. Then I'm just going to display the list container. Okay, let's run it and see how it looks like. log in my username and my password. Then I'm going to come to the users. Yep, you can see we have our users. So currently we have 3 users. We have Clinton, Moshe, John Doe, driver test user. We have the username, their role. Okay, so the next thing I want to add is a button here for adding the user. Okay, and you also have to add some buttons here for editing and deleting the user. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to come up here. Then I'm going to define a button to add a new user. Okay, so you can just say add user. Then it's going to be a widget that's new button. Okay, I can just call it add user. Add user, and then we're going to have just a function here. So I want when I click this button, it should be able to open a form, be able to open a new form. Okay, but let me add it to our view. Add user button contain, of course. You can just call it add user and container so that we can be able to view. You can just say container, it's new. It's going to have a layout, new grid. This is going to be one, and then display the add user. Okay, then I'm going to come down here, say container, new border, then add user, then container, then nil. I don't want anything on the left or right. Finally, can just display the list container. Okay, we have the button, but nothing is happening. So once it's clicked, it should be able to display the form. Okay, so and just come back here, this function. Then I'm going to define a function so that once it's clicked, and be able to display the form. So I'm just going to come down here and say func show add user form. Okay, can accept the window and the window, and then it also needs to accept the user, specific user, so that it can be able to help me to grab the specific details of a user. Then it needs a function that once it's submitted, be able to update particular user. So the first thing we have to do, we have to grab the user details. User, okay, thinking of another option. Try something out. Try something. Just obviously going to start with the full name. Here's dot new entry. Then we have full name, set placeholder to full name, then full name, set text to user, set full name. Okay, I'm just going to copy this, then I'm going to change this, of course, to username. Username, username, then we have role, have a role here, and finally we have font. So we're just defining the UI components, the widgets that can be used to enter the data. What just happened? Do that again. On. So we have full name, username, role, on, of course password. Oh, I must have got the password. Password. Now it's going to be new password entry. Okay. New to password. Then role. Now I've just remembered role, we can make it a select. They can come here for globals, have it here. I'm just going to be new select entry. Let me just say select. The difference between select entry and select is that select entry, if you don't have a list of items that you've provided, the user can just add their own. In this case, you can just do it this way. Control function. Why is it undefined? False. Okay, and then there's nothing like a placeholder here. Then I'm just going to say set selected to helpers.role. I can maybe say the first one is selected. Let me use 0 and 1. Now we've defined the UI element. Now we need to, okay, it's unused, of course, it's unused. I'm just going to find the form. I'm going to define the form. It's going to be a widget form. Okay, now in this case for the form, we need to have items and we need to on submit. Okay, so we start with the items. We need to have a widget form item. This form item we're going to have and submit. So it's a function. Okay, so let's add the form items. Because the form items are just going to be in form of within the text. of the full name, and then we have the widgets. Okay, full name. Okay, I'm just going to copy this. So you have password. Have phone. Have phone. Have role. Username. Username. First one, two, three, one, two, three, four, five. Good. So those are the items. Now we come to the submit handler. When we are submitting, we have to ensure we grab all the items from the entry points. Okay. So we have, I'll just call it full name text. I'm going to say full name dot text of the full name. Just copy that, paste it. Have username. And the next one we have one. One we have password. Then we have the last one, which is going to be role. Role dot selected. I can just call it role. Role text. Okay. We want to ensure that before these items are submitted, they should not be empty. I'm just going to add a condition here. So if full name text goes to empty, or username text empty, or font text, so that we can prevent people from submitting empty text or wrong. If they are empty, any of them is empty, you're just going to display a dialog. Just say dialog, your information. Now this title helps me to know that this dialog is coming from which portion of the code. So I can say all are required. Then you can pass in the window. We're going to return. Okay. Now, after we have successfully done this, we have to register the user, of course, using this function here we defined register. Okay. So as you can see here, we're returning an error. The purpose of handling it, and just say register. First thing we need is a username text, full name text, role text, context, and the password. And the password. Then we handle the error. So if there is an error, just going to display it. Dialog. Show error. Error. Window. Okay. there is an error, wait, otherwise I'm just going to say dialog information, so that tell the user that the registration is successful. Going to window. Say username text. Okay. Then we have to handle the on submit, that if submit go to nil, on submit. Now we have to display this form. We have to display this form to the user. We just need to come down here. Come down here and then just can just call it form container. That's new form. New box, and then you can pass in the form. Have a centered form, and then you can pass. And you pass in the form container. With the dialog. Okay, so that's the dialog. So once the user logs in, they're going to see this dialog. Now we need to use this function here in the add user. We can come down here and say show add user form. We have the window, and then we have the on submit, which is going to be the update list. Okay, we can run this up and let's see that if it's working. So we're going to come here to the user section, and then you can click on the button. Then I can just say share. Of course, he's a user. You can add the password. Let's say Moshe. Once you can also toggle here. Then once we submit, it's updated, it's added. Yay! Okay. Now since the add new user is working, we're going to add two buttons here, one for editing and one for deleting, and then we'll be done with our users. Okay. So we're going to have to come up here, our title row. Then we're going to add a new column here. Then I'm going to call it actions. And then we have to remember to add the number of columns. Here is going to be 5. Then we're also going to come down here, define our template. Then we can add edit btn. So we're going to add an edit button and a delete button. So widget new button with icon. Okay, and I'm going to use theme document create icon, and then just pass nil here for the function for now. Just copy that. And for editing, then we have the delete document icon. Yeah, we have to also come and add it here. Okay. And in this case, I want it to be them to be content. So I'm just going to say container put new hbox. So we have edit btn, so delete btn. Okay, then we also come and add it here. And remember here we've added a new one, so just come here and say it's btn. So I need to append it to our rows or objects. Okay, now we just need to be 4. This is not a label, it's going to be part of a container. So we have to just append it to a container. Say find container. Then we have objects. First one is going to be 0. Of course, it's the first row because it's a H. We are using horizontally aligned. Then we have a widget dot button. This for the edit button. Just copy that. And for the delete button, and then it's going to be 1. So they are going to be horizontal. Now, for defining these, we have to use them so that once somebody clicks them, we have to do something. It's going to say edit btn on tapped. It's a function. It's going to be a function. Same thing should be with the delete button on tapped. It will be a function. Okay, I want to see if it's reflected in the application before we start adding the user specific components. We have see how they use. Yes, so they are present. Now we want to add the specific user cases. Okay. Okay. Fine. So I want when I click edit button to be able to show me a form. Then when I click on delete button, it should also be able to delete that particular user. So I'm just going to implement the delete function first. Of course, it's going to show us a dialog. Okay, so I'm just going to say dialog. Let's show because so that when somebody clicks, they can be able to be asked, are you sure you want to delete this particular user? In the message we want to delete this user. Okay, now we can have the function. But if the person has said okay, we can proceed with deleting the user. So of course we already defined this function. Let's go to say utils delete user, supply the window, then we're going to supply the user ID. ID. Okay, so we have a window, and of course we're going to handle that error. We need to show it, show error. Okay, is the best user. My mistake. So it's supposed to return error. Oops. Getting the collection, user, finding and decoding, then we delete. Then after getting the error, there's a going to show a dialog. Confirm the user that they have been deleted. So it says user deleted. After successful deleting, we're going to update the user list. Okay, not enough arguments. I need the window here. So that when it's successful delete, you have to update it. Let's confirm that it's working. Okay, login. We can try deleting this user if you want. Yes, so the delete button is working. Let's work on the edit button. Okay, so edit button is here on top. Should be able to show. So it's not going to be so different. This one, I'm just going to copy. Instead of adding, I'm just going to say show edit user. And the only reason I'm separating these two, it's because I want the user to be able to edit specific items. That is the admin, of course. So here we have to capture that existing user because we're editing. So let's have to be existing and then say get user. Okay, then var user, and then have to say confirm that edit is true. So existing is not nil, and say user is to existing. So that means if we are in the existing mode, Okay, so that if it's existing, it's going to be that. So we should be able to update the full name, then the username, no. Not update the role phone, then the password, no. Get rid of this. So get rid of this. Okay. Okay. Delete this. Then now, in this case, when we're editing, we're not registering. We're just going to say details, but update use. So we have to supply the and to supply that particular user, and then with the window. Okay. Then here we're going to come here and say after updating the user, I can just update the user, and then other is come here. User it say is updated. Maybe say username is updated. Is update. Okay, now we have to add it to this function. Editing, of course. Make a comments row. Edit user. We have the window. Then we have user. Then we have the update user list. Okay, so let's confirm that we can successfully edit our user. We have the login. We can here. We can edit. As you can see, you can edit test user. Let's try making the mother name test updated. So user here. That's okay. After confirming that we are empty. What if I just say else here and perform this inside here? That user, we supply the user. I'm setting this detail, full name. I know where the problem is. I'm just going to say, because this one only captures new values. User full name. Here we have user.phone. And here we have user dot. I'm just going to click this. I believe now this one should be able to work. This one. Let me display this. But if there is no error, let's try that again. Okay, let's try editing this to admin updated. Yes, finally. Wow. Okay, so the next thing we're going to add is search bar, and then also going to add some pagination, but I'll do that in the next video. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Thank you guys.